Welcome back to Two Therapists Walk Into a Podcast. We're so glad you're here. I'm Robin Green, LCSW.
And I'm Stephanie Edsel, also an LCSW. Before we dive in, a big warm shout out to our listeners. You make these conversations richer, and we love hearing how they land for you.
Today we're opening up the anger mask. If therapists had $1 for every time someone said, "I'm not angry," I honestly think we'd be sipping something fruity on a beach somewhere.
Right? Like right now. Seriously.
Please.
Please. Well, to be fair, anger is one of the most misunderstood emotions, in my opinion, especially for men. It's often the only one they were taught was acceptable, and that's in quotes. While everything else, sadness, fear, tenderness, got sent away.
Which means anger becomes the mask. The only door they were allowed to walk through. But here's the truth. Anger isn't violence, and it isn't bad.
No, it's an emotion that really matters. And it deserves a closer look. Because anger is usually trying to tell us something important. Let's take a moment to pause together.
If your fists are clenched, let them soften. And if your jaw is tight, maybe ease it just a bit.
Notice your chest. Is it heavy? Is it tense? Just bring a little awareness there.
If this feels awkward, you're not alone. For many men, nobody ever modeled safe ways to pause and notice anger in the body.
Let's take one inhale and one exhale. You're here. That's enough.
Anger can feel scary to feel. That's part of why so many people run from it. But here's the paradox. It's actually one of the most predictable emotions. It rises, it peaks, and if it isn't acted on, it settles.
The problem is, most of us weren't taught that. Instead, we were taught that anger equals danger, that it always leads to violence, harm, or loss of control. That blurs the line between anger as an emotion and aggression or violence as behaviors.
In the message that men should hide behind logic and stay quote-unquote rational, and the picture gets more complicated, muddled. When real emotions break through, the brain scrambles, and people say, "I feel confused." But confusion isn't really an emotion. It's what happens when feelings overload the system, and the mind can't sort them out.
Exactly. Put all that together with childhood modeling, where anger was often the only allowed emotion, and of course, it becomes the mask. Today's nervous system nugget. Anger is fight or flight energy. It's your body mobilizing.
Exactly. Your heart rate rises, your breath shortens, your muscles tighten. It's actually predictable, almost mechanical.
Good news, plot twist, which this means it can be worked with. Because anger isn't chaos, it's a signal.
And what it's Signaling is usually values. Something you care about feels threatened, or a boundary feels crossed. That's the bridge between physiology and meaning. And because it's predictable, we can learn to work with it instead of fearing it.
Oh, I love that. Mm. That's why anger is important. Anger is information, not instruction. And when boys grow up seeing anger modeled only as violence, they learn to fear it in themselves and in others, which leaves them stuck. Either they erupt or, you guessed it, they disappear. So let's talk about a tool for this. We're going to be pulling from DBT, which stands for Dialectical Behavior Therapy. One of the skills is learning to notice action urges that are associated with emotions. So when you feel your jaw clench, your fists tighten, your chest heat up, that's an action urge. So step 1 is to name it. My anger is rising. Step 2 is pause. I don't have to act on it. You can say that to yourself. It really does work. Try it right now. Make a fist. Hold it tight. Now, slowly release it as you exhale. That's your body practicing letting go of the action urge. This takes practice. Be gentle with yourself and allow some grace through this process.
That was so beautifully put. Another phrase that can help in those moments is, my anger is telling me something matters, but I don't have to act it out. And if you can laugh at yourself in the moment, even better. Sometimes humor is what breaks the cycle. Anger's predictability makes it the perfect emotion to practice with.
Yes, and that little bit of space is everything. Now let's put this into real life. Picture with me, if you will, a dad who explodes over chores not being done.
On the surface, it looks like anger at dishes in the sink. Underneath, it's probably feeling unseen, unappreciated, or disrespected.
Or imagine a man at work who snaps in a meeting, anger on the outside, but underneath, fear of failure.
And for a lot of men, childhood taught them anger equals violence. So that's the only model they know.
Say it louder for the people in the back, please. That's the only model they know. So that the rewire is this. Oh, anger is information. Violence is a choice. And you can learn new choices. For example, I have a client that is trying to see his part in an important relationship where he is reinforcing a cycle by not pausing for a moment. So snapping and yelling or blame shifting can be byproducts.
And it doesn't stop at home or work. Think of friendships or community spaces where men pull back instead of naming what's really happening.
Yeah, I like that. The rewire there could maybe sound like, I value your perspective, not just your output. Or try this. I care about how you're doing, not just that you showed up.
And it's also worth saying, we are not above this. Therapists get angry too.
What? No. It's true though. We're still people at the end of the day, and I've been a very, very angry person before. Yeah, I've I've had to learn to make friends with my anger, change my relationship with it instead of fighting it. Ending on that note shows that even therapists are in this work too.
Absolutely. And that's the heart of it. Anger is one of the men we don't see. When we learn to see it differently, it stops being just a mask.
Here's what we want you to think about this week. What does your anger protect or point to? And what value might your anger be signaling? If you can name that, anger stops being the enemy and starts being a guide. Take a pause here if you can and really sit with those questions.
Anger is complicated, and it's not bad. It's one of the most human emotions we've got.
And when we stop confusing anger with violence, we can finally start working with it. That's a big part of why we're here, to see the men we don't see, even behind the mask of anger. Because when we learn to see anger differently, we start to see men differently too.
Join us next time for episode 24, When Logic Fails. And thank you to all our listeners. We are so grateful to be in this with you.
And remember, healing isn't linear, and we're here for the ride.
Thanks for sitting with us today. If something resonated, we'd love it if you shared the episode, left a review, or connected with us on social. We're two therapists walk into a podcast on most platforms. You can listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not therapy, does not replace therapy, and does not establish a therapist-client relationship. If you're in crisis, please reach out to a qualified mental health professional or call 988 in the U.S. Robin Green is a licensed therapist in Arizona, and Stephanie Edsall is licensed in Utah. But this podcast is intended for a general audience.